Kia ora! Welcome to Cinema in Context as we discuss all things film and the connections between. My name's Jeremy Downing.
I'm William Chen.
I'm Max Tarrant.
And today we actually are missing our fourth Cinema in Context member, Sarah Watt, who has a very good excuse. She's away on her honeymoon holiday. So, jet-setting around Europe as the countries disappear from Britain. Anyways. We'll see Sarah next time with our next Cinema in Context recording. But this week we're going to be discussing Independence Day, which came out in 1996, and Independence Day Resurgence, which has just recently came out. And the Cinema in Context team, we had the pleasure of attending the, the critics' premiere?
Yeah, New Zealand premiere
of an Independence Day Resurgence, and a big shout out to Sue May from 20th Century Fox New Zealand, who very generously complimented us those tickets. But yeah, Independence Day. William, do you want to give us a bit of an idea of what we're talking about with Independence Day?
Okay, so it is the year 1996. Director Roland Emmerich is following up Stargate with a movie about big, bad aliens coming down, wiping everything out. It's very, very interesting going back and reading interviews about how he and the other major creator or creative type, Dean Devlin, the producer, they went back and watched a lot of old alien movies and realized that most of the aliens were being very sneaky. And they thought, what if the aliens just came in and dominated everything, blitzkrieg the whole thing? And that, in a nutshell, is Independence Day.
Amazing.
Huge effects budget. I don't think we've seen anything like that, or we had seen anything like that before. And just, yeah, it kind of codified the disaster movie of the 90s, which kind of also defined Roland Emmerich's films in general. And then jump forward 20 years in both the real world and the fictional world, and we hit 2016, Independence Day Resurgence, where Roland Emmerich, Dean Devlin, and some of the original team try and recapture something about what made the first movie so special in today's day and age, and with modern sensibilities and a modern special effects budget. Yeah.
Excellent. Great.
Fantastic.
Great summary. So yes, Independence Day. I'll tell you what, I wasn't that interested in revisiting the old film, and I wasn't really that interested in seeing the new film. I'll be upfront about that. In fact, I went last night. I didn't get along with the Cinema in Context team to the premiere, but I went last night, and I was more excited about my KFC dinner at the end of a long teaching week than I was about about watching the film. So yeah, I don't know how. I guess before we actually talk about the films, because I know, William, you were really excited, right?
Oh, yes, I sure am. Okay, so I just want to say that Independence Day, it's one of my favorite movies of all time. And there's so many memories and so many bits and pieces of my childhood that are just wrapped up with this big ball of nostalgia. And I think that's what they're going for, right? Just like Jurassic World and Ghostbusters and everything that's coming out nowadays, just drawing on this 80s and 90s nostalgia. So can I tell a story?
Go.
Okay, so let's see, setting the scene. The year is 1995. I'm 9 years old. I'm with my chums, and we are going to see Twister at Zane Chung's birthday party.
I was thinking about Twister when I was rewatching it.
Oh, really?
But yeah, carry on.
And so this is at the old, but then brand new, Village 8 on Broadway. So very, very new cinema. It just opened in 93, I think. And so we were across the street eating at the Burger King, being really, really excited. You know, big Twister movie coming along. Go into our seats. Everyone's real jazzed up on sodas and burgers. And then the thing that shows is the Independence Day teaser trailer, which... Have you guys seen the teaser trailer?
No.
It is basically just the scene where the Empire State Building gets blown up. Just that one scene.
Yeah, I have seen that.
And
it was, sorry, carry on.
Yeah, it is striking as heck. And I just remember not remembering Twister and all. And afterwards, everyone was talking about the alien spaceships and the explosions in the Empire State Building.
Amazing.
And yeah, the movie then came out a year and a bit later, and it was incredible. I still love it to this day. Rewatching it, gosh, the 50th time? I don't know. It's one of those movies where you start watching and you just, I'm going to see the whole thing. There's a lot of things that are very dated, a lot of things that don't make a heck of a lot of sense. But it's silly, it's goofy. I personally think it's pretty charming. The special effects are still pretty awesome. And yeah, I love it. I love Independence Day.
Awesome. Max, what was your feelings pre-revisiting and going to see the new one?
I think the newer one is more interesting for me. This is probably a film that 3 or 4 years ago I would have avoided like the plague.
The new one or the old
The new
one?
one, Resurgence. I've not been a big blockbuster fan for quite a while. Until recently, I've kind of been getting more interested in them. I used to be trying to get as far off the beaten track as possible, going for art house. I wanted an experience. I wanted to learn something. I wanted to be changed. I wanted to have passion. And then at some point I was like, what am I doing? This is esoteric nonsense. I can't talk to anybody about this. Nobody feels the same way. And so I became part of society again.
Have you seen the 6 stages of a film fan?
No.
How it's like you start off as a Disney fan,
Yes.
and then you go to your superhero type films or your big blockbuster action films. Then you go to your Oscar fare, so your big dramas and that sort of thing. Then you go to your more art house films, film festival circuits, that kind of level. Then you go to like just the absolutely strange left field D-grade films, completely breaking outside of the box, and then you surface as a film fan that'll watch anything.
Yeah.
So I feel like that was your experience of
cool.
becoming that level 6
Yeah.
thetan. No.
Yes,
whatever it is.
I was just going to say that.
And
Sorry,
then,
Karen.
and then watching back, Independence Day 1 was fantastic, and I loved it a lot more than I did Resurgence. Independence Day 1 was even, nicely paced, had a simple idea which executed fantastically and hadn't really been done before. And I guess we can talk more about the new one soon, but it's... I don't know how I'd sum up my feelings about it. It's complicated. It's quite tough to watch at the start a little bit, and then it kind of grows into something more interesting. And I think it does get better at the end, but I felt like it should have stuck with its goofier side. And it tries to meld genres in a way that Independence Day 1 did so well.
Yeah.
And it does not achieve that,
Agreed.
I don't think.
It's interesting actually. You mentioned male genres, and Scream just came to mind.
Yeah.
You know, in terms of the 90s,
Yeah,
Scream
such a good
is
call.
such a good film.
Yeah.
It just perfectly marries comedy and horror. And yeah, I can definitely agree that Independence Day 1 does that. Well, let's start talking about Independence Day 1 in a bit more detail. I guess the first question or the first focus area that we always like to look at with our podcasts is some kind of film technique or something technical that stands out. And I've got a lot of comments on here, both good and bad, on my notes. The first thing I want to bring up is the flash cuts. You know what I'm talking
Complete
about?
with the sound effect.
It's like this sort of white flash, and then it cuts to like
Statue of Liberty.
Yeah.
Or National Parade.
yeah, and then it goes into the scene. I don't know what that's about. I don't. It's very day to day, really.
Yeah.
But I don't even know. Anyways, it just really confused me.
Yeah, okay, yeah. I can dig that with the kind of style of the film. In a way, I feel like it is coherent with the way they do things. So I didn't mind that. In a kind of what's the word I'm looking for? God, it's just on the tip of my tongue. I'm sorry, it's not coming to me. It's kind of like over the top, but
Yeah,
It's
fair
like
enough.
90s extreme.
Yeah. It's just so on the nose, eh? I thought the cast is really good. Like, I mean, apart from Bill Pullman, I don't think Bill Pullman's a very good actor.
oh really?
Nah.
I love Bill Pullman.
Oh, he's
He's
Such a
so
wet
But isn't he supposed to be a
Bizarre.
wet blanket?
yes,
At least in the movie.
I thought he was like over the top blanket, like
He spends the
awkwardly
entire
blanket.
movie just with his fingers on his temples and going, I should have saved them.
Yeah,
I should have saved them.
Yeah, he's
See,
pushed to the limit.
I mean, Will Smith is just brilliant. He, I always say that I can't stand Will Smith in the 2000s because I just find his films are so sappy. But I really love him in this. I really like him in the first Men in Black film. There's something about seeing, he's such a charismatic presence on the screen, and I really like him and Jeff Goldblum together. I think their two characters just are really, really strongly formed.
And yeah, the new movie does suffer a lot
That's
from
my biggest
not
thing.
having Will Smith.
Without Will Smith, I kind of know why the heck they went forward with it. I heard that he requested $50 million
50
for
mil.
2 sequels, which $25 million a film
Yeah.
actually isn't.
I mean, Robert Downey Jr., didn't he get 50 mil for Avengers 1?
Possibly, yeah. I know 20 million is not for big name actors, and I feel like Will Smith warrants that for those films
Yeah.
because the latest film really suffered, in my opinion, without him. But yeah, so for me, the cast, and you've got Randy Quaid. Oh my gosh. I don't really know how I feel about Randy Quaid. What do you guys think about Randy Quaid?
Explain who he is.
He's the dad, the drunken dad
Yes.
that had previously been abducted, the crop duster, who previously been abducted by aliens, and then he has all these goofy lines. And
Yeah.
They're gonna kill us all!
His
back!
his build-up almost isn't justified by what his role is in the end. I don't think he kind of comes through, but it's not very satisfying. And you're right, he sticks out like a bit of a sore thumb.
Yeah.
He's pretty wild. He's pretty wacky.
So, have you guys seen the original cut of the end of Independence Day?
No.
Where instead of Randy Quaid being in an F-16, he's in his crop duster. And the scene plays out exactly the same, except he's in this crappy little biplane with a huge missile strapped on it going, I'm back!
Ooh. That is amazing.
It is bonkers.
Oh man. I kind of want to see that version though. But yeah, I mean Vivica Fox, she's quite cool as the exotic dancing girlfriend. I mean, I say quite cool in the sense that she's got that moment where she's driving around saving people. But then she just does nothing in the second half of the film, and so does Jeff Goldblum's ex-wife. Like they are just there as props by the end of the movie. They're literally the two wives or the two girlfriends of the main male characters who just stand there and look scared when they're worried if they're going to come back or not. I'm like, what?
That's right, because they disappear, and then at the end, it's like, what happened to our delivery boys? And then the two of them suddenly appear, off the side of the screen.
And then one, I think she's holding, they're supporting each other. It's problematic. I also have the president's speech is obviously the big speech, but I just laughed out loud because it ends with he does this big speech that doesn't really mean anything. He just waffles on and on. And then I almost want him to end with, this is the day where we celebrate our independence.
Yeah.
And he says, our Independence Day. It just...
And then you have that one extra on the internet, people call him the greatest extra, who pulls off a salute that kind of starts from the tempo and goes, hi-ya! And it's almost like a karate chop. The guy in flight gear, awesome dude.
I think that where he says Independence Day, you know what that reminds me of? It reminds me of the end of Chinatown. Where he says it and they carry it off in Chinatown. It's so straight to you.
Yeah.
You mean the famous line?
The famous line where they finally say, it's just Chinatown.
Yeah, that's brilliant.
Whereas, and you kind of feel like, did they really need to say that? Do they need to... But they pull it off there and they didn't apparently pull it off here.
Yeah, they totally make fun of that in Arrested Development, where Ron Howard goes, hey, that's the name of the show.
They say it.
Oh, yes, someone says Arrested Development.
I know, what do you guys got down for technical things worth mentioning?
What I really liked, and I've already spoken to William a little bit about this, was having that ship in the sky the whole time has a fantastic feeling of space and enclosure, which is just fantastic. Looking up all the time, and it's just in the background of shots all the time. It's something covering, and it just achieves the perfect effect of what the film was supposed to create there. Such a simple idea, big, dark thing coming. And I think it's such a simple idea, and it was just like, we can do this with a blockbuster now. We don't need it. We don't need a complicated idea. Let's go. There's something big and dark that's going to take over the entire world.
And I do love how you don't even see it for a while.
It's
shadow. It's just not the shadow, but there's all those clouds and flames and fire. And
oh god, the technical stuff around the ship coming in and this fire and smoke shrouds it is quite fantastic.
You guys know how they did that? It was milk. They shone light through milk and then swirled, and the eddies is what you see on screen.
Wow.
Yeah.
So,
Great
but have
idea.
they coloured it?
Oh yeah. So
Right.
so they're shining like
Yes.
bright orange light
Right. Oh,
behind
okay.
milk that
But
they're
not
creating
digitally
eddies
coloured.
in. I'm not sure. Maybe it's digitally colored, but then they superimpose the spaceship
Yeah.
model on top of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ah, cool.
Very nice.
Yeah, I have a couple of things. Yeah, the effects, totally agreed about the sources kind of casting their presence over all the cities. Especially in New York, because you juxtapose that with all the very vertical
Yeah.
skyscrapers.
Yeah.
And so you see gaps in between the skyscrapers, but everything is covered by just the alien ship on top. Really, really cool. There's also just a couple of effect shots which are fantastic. Just so good. Of course, we already talked about the smoke coming in. When the laser first fires and you see various landmarks like the Empire State Building and the White House, and guys, there's something about a little model that's blown
Yeah.
up
Oh,
Yeah.
exactly.
that feels so much more tangible, no matter
Yes.
how good CGI becomes.
Oh, totally.
You go back to the Star Warses and the Ray Harryhausens, and there's just something that cannot be replicated there.
That deserves so much emphasis. I completely agree. And they do. I mean, even I think they did this with Resurgence a bit as well, with cars getting blown up, and you've got a real chunky car that has weight, and the gravity feels good. Same, they did it with Mad Max.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
Fury
it's all
Road.
Mad Max, yeah.
That's
Well,
it just
I think-
has such a great weight to it that
And-
CGI just can't get.
And I think it's like something that Tarantino talks about is, he tries to use as little CGI, not because it doesn't look good, but it's like the moment that you use CGI, you know it's CGI, so you know how the trick is done.
Yeah.
Whereas even with a model, like you don't always know how they've done it because you
Yeah.
don't know exactly how they've composited the thing or how big it is or whether it is a model or not. There's always that question, and so something about using using visual effects, I guess. There's a mystery there. The
Yeah.
movie magic is there,
Yeah.
so I can agree with that.
I like the aspect of limitation as well.
yeah.
A certain aspect of limitation with CGI. You
The
go,
sky's the
okay,
limit.
okay, we could, well, let's CGI this in, and they go, oh, you're going to CGI that in. Well, why don't we do this as well? Because we could do this, we could do that, we could do that, and suddenly it is. It's an open landscape, and you needed some limitations to what you're doing to really force you to put the work in or something like that. Have some direction.
Yeah, and I think some of the best visual directors today, like J.J. Abrams, they're people who understand how much CGI is necessary to augment the scene and how much we as the audience can figure out that is CGI. So there's a really interesting shot in, what is it, The Third Mission Impossible by J.J. Abrams, where they're having the climactic chase on a bridge, a very long bridge. Have you guys seen this?
No.
Oh, I've seen the film, but I can't.
Oh, okay. So it's a narrow bridge. They have a prison convoy and it's being attacked on both sides, and it's all above water. And you watch the making of, and it's a section of bridge in the desert. And then all of the water is CGI, but you would never think this. And then in interviews, J.J. Abrams was just saying, it's okay. It's going to be okay. People will think this is water. We're going to do it this way. Which is brilliant.
Because the focus, I guess, is not on the water.
No, it's
more
not.
like-
Yeah.
It's the same thing how they would use. I guess it's similar to Mad Max in that the actual focus of the scene with the cars crashing and racing, that's all really happening.
Yes.
Yeah.
But the storm, for instance, that's all been created, but it just doesn't. You still buy it because you're like, oh my gosh, there's still cars crashing into cars.
Yeah.
And it's interesting.
I think there's even one final example of very contemporaneously relevant, which is, I think we were talking about this happening in Game of Thrones in the latest episode, which, if you're watching this, listening to this later on, was the episode, The Battle of the Bastards.
So season 6, episode 9?
Yeah, so spoiler alert if you
Oh.
have not watched
Yes,
episode 9 of
you
season
will know that
6.
there's going to be a battle, but all I was going to say is that they do the same thing, I think. They have used the real stuff in the foreground. Anything
Yeah.
that's the focus is actually real, and they only use the CGI to augment with people in the background, additional things.
for sure.
So
really
that's interesting.
nice.
It's an interesting connection. Maybe we can shift now to the new one for a little bit, because Game of Thrones, that episode, there is a battle. We were talking before we started recording about how logical that battle is and how you know exactly what's going on. They follow one character, Jon Snow, and we also talked about how, you know, Peter Jackson did it so brilliantly in Lord of the Rings and so terribly in the Hobbit films, and that you don't know what's going on in the Hobbit films. The battle makes no sense. And I definitely feel that Independence Day Resurgence, those sky battles, I had no idea what was going on. It was just such a mess of. It reminded me of the Star Wars prequels, and that was one of the connections I made with both of these films. That it's like Star Wars and Aliens so heavily influenced Independence Day films.
Yeah, oh yeah.
But the first
the dogfights, man,
dogfight,
straight out of Star Wars.
The first film, Independence Day, the dogfights, absolutely, it totally reminded me. Even the music sounds like it, and also there's that scene where they're going through the canyons.
Yeah.
Very Star Wars.
When the president fires a missile and you think it's going to go in, but it just puts it off the surface.
Yeah, just like a New Hope. Yeah. But then this new one, it's totally like the opening of Revenge of the Sith, where there's just lasers going everywhere and ships flying everywhere. I'm just like, I don't know what's happening.
Yeah. That was a really horrible scene action scene to start off with, I thought.
Yeah.
When we're introduced to the new protagonist, young protagonist.
Are we talking about Star Wars?
No, sorry, Insurgence.
Resurgence.
What's his name?
Hemsworth. Chris Hemsworth?
Liam.
And who's
the lesser.
horrible actor.
He's not,
I don't know, he just had a very flat face to me.
They tried to make him the Will Smith of the movie. And
I know.
It just didn't work.
The horrible actor was the guy that played Will Smith's character's adopted son.
Yeah.
Oh, and he had such a rubbish character as well.
Yeah.
He was just nothing.
Yeah.
It really felt like this film was butchered
Yeah.
in the editing booth. There's so many missing bits and pieces. Story arcs that went nowhere.
The president?
Yeah,
She just did nothing. Characters, actors, Independence Day Resurgence.
Sorry, one more thing about just the technical stuff. I will say one of the most dated things I found about Independence Day 1 was the lighting. It looked very, very 90s made for TV in places. Every time they're indoors, there's just this white gleam over everything.
Yeah, true.
And movies don't really have that anymore. I guess because, of course, we switched to digital as well. And so film stock it looks different.
Having said that, at the end of this new film, and this is not a spoiler, the characters that end up together, they're on like the salt flats. It looks so fake.
I know.
It looked terrible. I was like, what the heck? Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess like I've already said that Will Smith was hugely missed. I really liked seeing Charlotte Gainsbourg. The kind of Jeff Goldblum love interest. No mention of what happened to his woman that he ended up with, his ex-wife.
In the extraneous materials, the novels and whatnot, she apparently died a couple of years prior to movie number 2. Which,
okay.
Yeah.
No mention. And apparently she wasn't worth the effort. But yeah, Charlotte Gainsbourg, I just really like her as an actor. She didn't really do much.
She was so weirdly out of place.
Yeah.
They introduced so many new characters and none of them do much.
Yeah.
There's the African warlord who's pretty hilarious.
Yeah.
Double machetes.
Yeah.
They're all meant to get killed off in a disaster movie, really, aren't they? You have so many characters because you need lots of people that you want to kill off.
Either that,
I feel like.
or I think they were trying to do what they were doing in the first movie, which was every time something big happens, there was always someone on the ground where you have their point of view.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they definitely had that. It just didn't. I don't know. The characters weren't interesting enough.
Yeah, I feel like that's a lesson from Spielberg. And he does. I think the comparison and the connection to Spielberg is really interesting. I think he's referenced Spielberg in his films with different things like Godzilla. Godzilla stamps on a smaller dinosaur as a kind of, well, some people say a kind of stuff you, Spielberg. This is stuff you to Jurassic Park. And but I think it's a much more respectful relationship than that. And he does in Independence Day 1. He Will Smith says something that I don't have the note for, but he says something that is a kind of direct reference to
Close
Star
Encounters.
Wars. Oh, Close Encounters,
Yeah.
that's what it was.
No, that's what I call Close Encounters.
Yes, thank you. Yes.
Yeah.
And then they bring it back in the second one, where the what's his face, the actor playing Will Smith's stepson,
Yeah.
says something along the lines of something Close Encounter, or or
Yeah.
something like that. Because
Yeah.
you turned to me, Max, and
Yeah.
said, "Wait, did
Yeah.
he say that?"
Yeah. There's a lot of those moments in that film, in Resurgence.
Well, let's talk about dialogue, because I thought the dialogue was so bad in this new film. There's the scene where they're talking to, they encounter an alien, and they're having this discussion with this alien, and the dialogue is these stupid questions that all the characters are asking, that it's just like, what are you here for? I'm here to do blah blah blah. And why did you come there? Because blah 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 blah. What can we do to help you? Blah 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 blah. It's just exposition,
Yeah.
and it's so bad. Such poor way of bringing in the story. It's so boring as well. Like,
Yeah.
and you've got your Charlotte Gainsbourg and the crazy long grey haired guy, and
Dr. Oaken.
Oh,
Brent
that's-
Spiner from Star Trek.
is it?
He's Data from Star Trek, the android.
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
Was he the original guy as well?
He was, yeah.
No way.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
It's pretty cool. His ham meter goes all the way up to 11 in the second movie.
Oh, it's just. And then he, of course, and he. Actually, no, I won't say that because it'll wreck the end of the film. But what I will say is that the film ends on a cliffhanger, which is so bad. Oh, it's so awful. I was just like, really? You're going to sequel bait us for this? I'm not interested in knowing what the heck happens to these characters or what the heck happens with the storyline. I do not care.
So,
how do you guys?
So overall, should we just take it? You were not impressed at all.
Well, I never wanted to see it in the first place, and I actually kind of was alright. I actually almost fell asleep in parts because I was so tired. And to be honest, you guys say that you kind of said to me, I mean, you mentioned it earlier, that you didn't really enjoy the start, but it got better. For me, it was the opposite, because what surprised me is I had no idea what I was going into. Obviously, apart from the fact that it was an Independence Day film, and that Will Smith wasn't in it. But I was really impressed that they had created a world where the alien technology had affected human technology.
The world building was super cool.
I was quite impressed by that. I didn't expect that. And they created... The first one was about a contemporary world with the aliens coming in and attacking. This new one is they've created a science fiction world. Mm-hmm. And I really enjoyed that. And then, I don't know, just all the wheels fell off for me. It got really hammy and stupid. And when that scene where they're having that discussion with the alien comes into it, I'm just like, oh my gosh, this is awful. Anyways.
Yeah, I agree, Jeremy. I wish there was more of that world building, because that was really interesting. And also, they delved a little deeper as well, kind of talking about why everyone is so young, because a generation had been wiped out because of the war, and how politics works in this new world, and all that stuff was really cool.
I really liked there's a scene where they go into the spaceship and there's the alien fields.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
but we don't get really that much of it. I was like, oh, this is really cool.
That was interesting.
Yeah,
they could have been hiding for longer.
Yeah.
There was a bit of tension there, and then it kind of just
they have their own ecosystem.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Nothing happens. Actually, it annoyed me as well how they were able to jump between Earth and space so quickly, and they had some plot point of alien technology,
fusion drive.
Yeah, made it go faster.
Yeah.
And I'm like, but there's no sense of tension of being able to get anywhere. You just jump around the planet.
Pacing.
Oh, yeah.
See, this is what I really struggle with. A lot of blockbusters, maybe not most, a lot of blockbusters. This film starts at 90 miles an hour and basically doesn't stop. Or it does slow down about 2/3 of the way through. It kind of just slows down a little bit before it builds back up again. But
which is where I fell asleep.
Oh, I can't deal with that. It didn't have time for comedic pauses.
No.
I swear to God, all the lines, it'll be a throwaway line and they move on. And it's just you don't even have a chance to laugh.
Yeah.
And so the audience wasn't laughing.
No. Well, I mean,
Not the
we
lines
were
that-
laughing,
We were laughing.
but not because of the comedy.
Very bizarre. Like, we weren't sure if. Well, personally, I wasn't sure if I was laughing with them or at them. Like,
Yeah.
is this an in-joke or is this just really horrible?
There were a couple of, I'll just say character beats, where Sarah, Max, and I turned to each other and were just incredulous with these
Yes.
expressions.
Yeah.
Oh, it was a crap movie. It was so bad. I heard a guy sit behind me, and he said, he had a British accent, and he goes, oh, what did he said? All right, guys, how about we all punch ourselves in the balls just to enjoy ourselves after that piece of crap movie, you know, something like that.
How did you feel about it, William?
Yeah, I think I liked it a little bit more than you guys. I totally agree about the pacing, though. Like, one of the joy of watching the first movie is the whole build-up to the alien invasion, right? You see everything start to go wrong, and more people start becoming aware of it, and Jeff Goldblum figures out the code and all of that stuff. And with this, stuff happens, and there is an escalation, but you never feel that tension. There's no tension there.
No.
Stuff just happens, and
There's no
other stuff
dynamics.
happens.
Yeah.
There's no dynamics, and it's
No. When big events happen, as we were saying before, they kind of just happen out of the blue, and there's
Yeah.
no consequence to
Yeah.
any of it. I do agree with Max how I think the more the movie goes on, the goofier it becomes, and I do really appreciate some of the goofy stuff. I think the movie needed a heck of a lot more
Yeah.
of that.
Maybe it needed to set it up better at the start,
Yeah.
because then that way I wouldn't have felt so abused by the stupid scene where they talk to the alien.
So anything with Judd Hirsch as David's dad, what's his name, Julius Levinson,
Yeah.
gold.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
I enjoyed him as well.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
true.
And there's that moment where he said, "Oh, there's a scene where they go, the kids are like, we need you," or something. He's like, "Yeah, I need you too," or something like
Yeah.
that. There's some kind of,
Yeah.
it just rather than him being like, "Oh, come on, kids, I'll be there." He's really honest that he needs those kids to kind of emotionally get him through this tragedy.
yeah.
I like that. The scene that I really enjoyed in terms of just enjoyment, just in terms of visually kind of looking great, was the alien queen crawling across the
The salt flats.
against
Yes.
with the bus. That as a concept was a really cool idea.
It reminded me a little bit of Cloverfield.
Yeah.
Just the sense of scale of something
Yeah.
so big chasing after something, relatively small.
Yeah, and it's so clear. You know, there's a group of kids in a bus with Jeff Goldblum driving
yeah.
it. There's a big bad chasing after them. But it's so clear, like clear characters. That's one thing I will say about the old film is that all of the characters had really simple but clear motivations.
Yes.
Yeah.
You knew exactly what they were doing and why they were doing it.
Yeah. There's
yeah.
over a dozen main characters, but you do, right? You know who the kind of antagonists are, who are, not so happy about the whole thing, and who you're going to root for, who you're going to root against. Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. I will say, also comparing the first one and the second one, just the destruction porn, I don't know, it felt so much more impactful in the first one. The second one, the scale is like way beyond anything you see in the first. Like, there's a line in the trailer where the big alien spaceship comes down and it's like, it has its own gravity. Just this huge thing that's covering most of the Earth, and because it's so big, kind of dragging up Asia and dumping it on Europe.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's two times where characters just directly say, so doing it once would be enough, but they go, this is definitely bigger than the last one.
Yeah.
But then, for some reason, he says it, someone else says it again. It's like, you've said it. It was already completely conspicuous.
But yeah, like all of those scenes, which is at a scale almost, I think, unimaginable to like the human brain.
Yeah.
It just, there was no impact. At least, I don't know, I didn't feel anything. There was no excitement or terror or, just, ooh, shiny things. Not even that. It just felt very staid and very kind of, by the book, disaster movie stuff.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about destruction porn, and I guess we always have this focus in our discussions around wider cinema landscape or how these films fit into the real world context, and it's the fact that the first film is so much about destroying New York City, and it's 5 years before September 11th, and I sort of wrote down, you couldn't make that film post 9/11, and yet post 9/11 we get all that city destruction, the city destruction films.
Which tries to capitalize on that 9/11 imagery.
Yeah.
Recently seen in Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice, which, man, it just takes it up to 11.
No, I'm not even interested in seeing it.
Oh,
I hated the flipping
Yeah.
last one for that reason. But I think the gun-ho attitude in Independence Day and the goofiness of it, you couldn't get away with that post 9/11.
No.
And the fact that they are so... Like, there's that scene where Randy Quaid, he sacrifices himself, and I just know him as Jane from Firefly, whatever his name. He turns to
Adam
the
Baldwin.
sun. Adam Baldwin,
Yeah.
Turns to the sun and he says, your father did a great thing. You should be very proud. And the son's like, oh, I am. And I'm just like, whoa. Like, you couldn't... I don't think you could do that now.
yeah.
And yet they did do it in this film, and I won't say with who, but there's a character that sacrifices himself, and it feels like a complete waste. And it's quite a different,
Feel.
different comment.
Yeah.
And I think it's a product of the world we live in now with post 9/11. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Very interesting. I thought it was going to be more. We kind of talked about, William talked a little bit about there being more kind of 9/11 imagery, drawing more on that kind of feel and that fear. I don't think the film managed to leverage that very well, personally.
Do you think it should have?
Oh, I think they naturally... Morally, no. Of course, film shouldn't do that, but it does work, I think. I think it naturally... You can leverage that kind of... a certain fear of the other. And this film was interesting in terms of the other, in scare quotes. The alien was becoming... In some ways, we know that it's high-tech, it's advanced, but it was kind of slightly more primitive in terms of its sensibilities and its primitive instincts than it was in Independence Day, I think. And I was going, oh God, so they're saying the other, the alien, is really nasty. The other in our world is nasty. And I was going, oh, that's not very nice. They're getting more kind of stereotypical, more simplistic in the way that they view others in society. But then we did see a different type of... Spoiler alert, possibly. We do see a different type of alien in this film. That's not really a spoiler. Yeah. And that's portrayed in a slightly different way, which I was glad to see.
Okay. Yeah. So definitely with some of the post or pre and post 9/11 stuff, I will say that this is, and we've talked about this before with what was the movie? It was Zootopia versus the Lion King. There was a time when Bill Clinton was in power, America had a huge surplus, and they were top of the world, and it was all about gung-ho patriotism and optimism, and we can do anything. And then you have 9/11 and the economic crash, and movies became, basically Jason Bourne clones. It was all about cynicism and paranoia and all that good stuff.
Pretty much the 70s cycling
all
around.
over again, exactly. And so the movies of the 90s, they do have that special kind of bubble where, nothing can go wrong, and heroes can be heroes, and villains are dastardly. And then, whereas today, we do call for moral complexity, or for us not to trust the big guy,
Which they did try to do that in this when they fired on a peaceful ship.
Yes.
Assuming it was coming to attack them. And so they tried to complicate it a little bit. It was pretty weak.
I think
but they tried
it was quite weak. I think that's the problem. This could have been much more interesting in that sense. When it started, and the film starts with Bill Pullman in a dream with an alien, or having dreams with an alien because he's got some kind of psychic connection to them from the first film. And I thought,
yeah.
Is the alien going to be somehow connected inside
like that.
us? And I was like, this
really
could
good
be
opening.
good.
That's true. It was a really strong opening to the film. I really enjoyed it. Karen. I was thinking about War of the Worlds in terms of...
Spielberg's one?
Yeah, Spielberg's War of the Worlds, playing off the 9/11 imagery and how that was terrifying. The opening of that, I never ever will forget that film, sitting in the cinema, watching Tom Cruise running. It was one of his last films before he went off my good list. but him running through, I think, New York City or somewhere that looked like New York City, and people just being obliterated into ash, and him covered in ash, and the film loses the wheels fall off halfway through in that film. But the first half of War of the Worlds is such a good film.
So I read quite an interesting article on Huffington Post about, and this is the relationship, interesting thing with connecting to Spielberg, that Spielberg kind of had this thing where if there was a disaster going on, major issues going on, it was still grounded in kind of characters that we could relate to, and he had a care for life. He wasn't throwing life around too willy-nilly. And then Roland Emmerich came around with Independence Day in particular, and was like, people are getting blown up into the sky, and the characters are just like, kind of making quips at the same time. You're like, oh God, that sucks, or something like that, or making a little joke. And in this article they say that over time, this became the norm in Hollywood, that no care for life really, and that War of the Worlds was what they reckon was when Spielberg himself turned around to Roland Emmerich's way of doing things and lost the care for life and following human characters. And it's the effect on them that is the gives it the weight. And you've got a whole lot of characters in this film, which is trying to do that, give it some kind of weight, make this issue real. And the bus with the 10-year-olds on it or 7-year-olds on it is such a target for our sympathy, but I think we've all commented on it now. It actually really works. Such an obvious target, but you know it's a target and it's fun.
It's so over the top that it actually I think achieves something.
Yeah.
Especially since some of the children are wearing these silly little animal hats.
Yes.
You know?
Yes. Very cute.
Also, I mean, related to modern day politics, we are definitely seeing a shift in cinematic sensibilities, especially since Warcraft.
Oh yeah.
Which have you seen it?
No, I want to, but I was going to, but then people tell me it's not that great.
Yeah, it's not good, unfortunately. But yeah, you've heard about the box office, about how it just bombed in the States, but in China, it's become one of the highest grossing movies of all time.
Wow.
And so now there's just such a swing towards appeasing, the Chinese film industry, and Independence Day does this with the Chinese character in caps.
True.
Oh, amazing.
True.
Oh, it's really out of place. It's really awkward, but we gotta have it, guys. We gotta have it.
And the courting of the two characters.
Yeah.
What?
I know.
Yeah.
The two.
There are all these weird little relationships.
It's like
in the
anti-chemistry.
Film. Little duos, weird relationships like that one, like the two scientists.
Oh.
These weird little pairings.
Which scientists are you talking about? The two men?
Yes.
Older men.
I think came out of the left field.
That was one of the
We
scenes
liked
where
it.
we were like, what?
Yeah, were they a couple? Was that what was implied?
I think so. I think so. Once again, it felt like there was more to it, but studio interference said, we're just going to trim the heck out of this movie. And so a lot of character beats were lost.
Yeah.
At least that's
But let's
definitely
think
what
about
it
that
felt like.
relationship. Like, he's been in a coma for 20 years.
Yeah.
Anyways, let's
Yeah.
think about it.
Yeah, no, it's interesting.
That was really surprising.
Yeah.
And then you've got Hemsworth and the girl who... Have you heard about the public backlash about casting...
Oh, Michael Monroe instead of Anvil from Arrested.
I don't know the names,
the-
but I know
the
the original
yes.
the original daughter of the Prime Minister, the original daughter of the President, she's gone on to have quite a successful career as an actor. And there was a big public backlash because supposedly she wasn't that stereotypically beautiful actress to play this character.
Yeah.
I mean, the girl that plays the President's daughter, she does an alright job, but her character's so...
It's a real shame.
Oh, God.
She's a really good actor.
I was quite impressed with her. I
Yeah.
thought she was actually one of the few people in the film to watch to see how her career goes.
Yeah.
Not the guy who plays Will Smith's son.
Oh,
Shame.
boy.
They could have been such a better actor.
And the guy who played Will Smith's original stepson is also still an actor, and they don't cast him either.
Yeah, right. I mean, so much more interesting.
Oh, yeah, I think just the fun of seeing the original actors would have been pretty cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely the president's daughter, because she's in a lot of stuff. Like in The Duff, she was pretty good in that as the main character.
I don't know, but I also know of it.
And she's a pretty proficient voice actor as well for like Avatar: The Last Airbender and
Oh, really?
a bunch of other stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, let's. I guess we'll talk about action disaster film tropes. We've sort of already touched on it. But is there anything you guys want to talk about that in terms of how they play with those tropes?
I do want to say something, but I think it should be left more to the end because it's veering off a little bit.
Sweet.
Okay.
I reckon.
Oh, yeah,
I reckon.
you guys.
Well, I mean, the only thing I have to say is that it's very patriotic. The first film, the epitome of that patriotic American. Like you're saying, we can do anything.
Yeah. I love, of course, the scene where the president's speech gets broadcast around the world, and then it's from the Americans.
Yeah, we should care
It's
about
a
this.
counter-offensive about bloody time.
Yeah.
And then the Russians and their dingy little Russian castle, and the Japanese going like, oh.
Yeah.
It's all stereotypes, eh? Oh, man.
Oh, also,
Yeah.
there's... At the end of the movie, Independence Day 1, where the ships all come crashing down, and there's a shot with these African tribesmen like holding spears and shields, and with the crash,
Yeah, that was awful.
yeah.
There is a point I'd like to make about that diversity.
Pretty amazing, bring down a ship with spears.
I think it's going to be really interesting in the future what happens in terms of how films and blockbusters in particular can cater to other audiences. Because at the moment, obviously, what we're seeing is very, very superficial ways of doing that.
And superficial is the right word, I think. Definitely.
Putting in a character that is Chinese and having a few lines in Chinese or something like that.
And then she doesn't do anything.
She doesn't do
'Cause
anything.
She's introduced as trademark strong female character,
Yeah.
and then she just listens to what Liam Hemsworth says for the rest of the movie and is in the background.
I don't really feel like anybody really does anything with this thing. I can't even... Like, even Jeff Goldblum's character, he sort of disappears. Like, he
Just goes from here to there. Yeah. I think Brent Spiner, so Dr. Oaken, he does something.
He's so ridiculous though that he's. But the thing is, even his whole way he comes into the movie, that he's been in a coma for 20 years and he wakes up and then he's totally welcome back. Like, this guy has probably got major health issues and you are letting him lead you.
Yeah.
Far
I
out.
liked him with his little gun opening up the box, though. That was quite fun. Just some of his quips and things like that.
Yeah, he was
But
good.
the diversity in the first one's quite interesting as well, because they kind of, theoretically, it was pretty good for its time, at least on paper, kind of.
Well, Will Smith.
Will Smith, of course, is
black
a black actor. And I think the reason that it was able to do that was because it's, right, we're doing a film that is about the Earth against another intergalactic entity. And therefore, we will draw on everyone. We're going to be united in this.
There's that wonderful shot in the first one where you see the Israeli Air Force and the Palestinian Air Force, and they're facing each other, kind of crossed arms, going, well, I guess we're in the same boat.
Right.
Oh, I don't remember that.
And there's a similar kind of thing in Resurgence where you're looking at kind of young hoodlums under New York Bridge or something like that, and a white guy, kind of middle class guy's head pops into the shot. They're all looking at a TV or something of what's going on, the disaster that's happening. So his head pops into the shop, and it's kind of like, yes, we're kind of coming
together.
Yeah. But what I was going to say is, it's interesting. I want to see what happens in the future in terms of catering to other cultures.
Yeah.
How we do that, because it would be super interesting if they could do it better. If they can do it better, governments have been trying to do this for a long time, multiculturalism, right? And some people would say that governments aren't very good at doing it. Some people would say that capitalism's very good at innovation, and perhaps in this sense we might see some innovation of how do you cater to different audiences, creative answers to that. So, I mean, it's not going to happen probably for a while, but it's going to be interesting to see how we do that. How do we cater for different audiences? How do we get different people on board who've got different ideas about things?
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting.
Well, particularly in the blockbuster, because it has to be lowest common denominator,
and that's the site. That's going to be a site of
So profit driven as well.
But I mean, I think Steven Spielberg's talked about it, but I've heard someone like him talk about it, that this whole model is going to collapse because
Yeah.
it's just the amount of money they put into it. It's just going to take one of these massive films to collapse, to really shake the whole industry.
Amazing.
Because you think $300 million,
Yeah.
and they usually spend they usually spend the production budget on publicity.
Yeah.
So $600 million, that's a stupid amount of money for a film.
So if one completely bombed, it could.
Well, they reckon that it'll take maybe a couple, two of them bombed.
If two
it would
bomb at the same time or something.
And Steven Spielberg predicted that when we go to the cinema, we would pay more for the blockbusters. But we kind of do that already with 3D and mega screens and things like that. But
4DX with the chair moves and you have smoke effects.
it's too much. What are we going to add, William?
I think I was just going to say that the thing that really strikes me about Independence Day 2 is just it feels so disjointed. That's all it is. I mean, it doesn't work because it feels like scenes come out of nowhere. Characters, as you say, don't have a very simple motivation. I don't even know what most of their motivations are.
It's super postmodern in the sense that we jump between characters at, I guess not at different time frames. The time is chronologically going ahead.
Yeah.
But we jump from space to space like nobody's business. There'll be 4 different storylines going on at once, and we're just jumping in a cycle around them, going from different characters, and it's crazy how they can. I mean, it's crazy how they can do that. Not that they pull it off, but.
And in the end, with the very, I would say, almost Marvel-inspired sequel setup, yikes.
Yeah.
Just
So I guess my
wow.
my sort of wrap-up comment would be, I've just written down on my note, just generally a rubbish film. Do we really need a third? You know?
The filmmakers think we do.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
I think if personally one of the biggest things they could get right and would make me a lot happier would be getting the genre mix more done better.
Done better. There you go. That's the phrase. Genre mix, get it done better.
Get it done better, mate.
Although I will say something positive about Resurgence, which is in so many films, I think since around the time of Transformers 1, with these special effects driven blockbusters, the editing is just a shambles in terms of the action, cinematography. And I felt like for a lot of it, apart from the plane stuff, which is not so great, but a lot of the establishing shots had a very almost steady eye to it, and it was really refreshing. There's a scene where alien craft appears out of a wormhole, and it's huge and looming. And they don't cut away from it. You see the impact that has on the environment itself. And there's just a couple of shots in there which, again, we used to do this back in the 90s and the 80s and some of the 70s as well. But for them to really not have the cut Michael Bay style thing was really, really refreshing to me. And I did legitimately enjoy that.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right, let's do some wrap-up comments. William, start us off.
Okay. Let's see. So Independence Day 1, I still really, really enjoy it. A lot to love about it. It's very simplistic fun, but it's a feel-good movie. And I'm seeing a lot of comments on the internet saying, oh, back in the day critics hated it, and it's just nostalgia and all that. I don't think so. At least not after this viewing. It still, to me, really, really holds up. And this new one kind of felt like a wasted opportunity. I know a lot of the creative types behind it they've been trying to get this thing going for a while, for at least 4 years. And for the end product to be this, I mean, there's good stuff in there, but there's also so much junk. So yeah, quite disappointed with Resurgence, unfortunately.
Independence Day 1 was never kind of going to be a film or even a genre type necessarily that I'd probably delve into hugely. The willingness to throw around human lives. I know this is a film, it's a blockbuster, get over it, but it's not, just personally, it's not quite my thing. If I take that out of the equation, fantastic, loved it. Like I say, well paced, builds up nicely, simple idea, fantastic. Number 2, I could just add on to my point before about getting the genre mix right. I was so put off because it starts off kind of quite serious and then it kind of goes it goes big sci-fi.
It goes to crazy town.
It does horror. I felt like quite a bit of horror in there. And then when it found out its identity, it was the slightly more goofy side. If the third one can sticks to that from the start to the end, I think I'd be enjoying it. Yeah.
And when rewatching Independence Day 1, I was actually quite surprised at how great some of the character moments were. And it's not a film I'll revisit anytime soon, but it was an alright watch. And then the second one, I just really feel that Will Smith, his absence was hugely felt, and that his charisma actually would have added a lot to the film. Because you're right, William, there are some actually quite nice moments in there, and as much as I didn't like the film, I really did enjoy some of those sequences and some of the ideas, particularly that whole a different world, 20 years on, the alien technology has influenced the world.
Yeah.
But because Will Smith's not in there, I have no interest in seeing the third one at all. And that's my final word.
What?
Anyways, thank you for listening, everybody, and please check us out in a month's time where we look at another 2 films as we discuss all things film and the connections between. Ka kite anō.